Hey y'all, I'm so excited to be here, but I'm also nervous. So I'm going to take it really slow, trying to embody slowness. And also, I believe that slowness is beautiful and intentional and ensures that we will all get there together. So first, I'm going to share my screen. Can y'all confirm that you can see my screen and that you can hear me? Get some thumbs up, some reacts, chat. Amazing. Thank you. So welcome to a very accessible adventure with me, Ande, and my sister, AJ. So this program today is going to be very interactive and experimental. We hope that it is fun. We hope that it is informative. And we hope that you just feel empowered and safe enough to come as you are and just be all that, what you're feeling right now, honestly. Okay, so who am I? I am a multiply disabled and chronically ill, Black, queer, neuroexpansive, trans, anti-binary spirit babe. I was born in Nigeria and I was raised there and in the US South. And I think that really informs my ideas and my dreams for what community looks like and what community could be. I am an artist, an healing arts practitioner, a care worker, a health educator, a disability and mental health advocate, and a holistic wellness curator. I'm a facilitator of intuitive movement and meditation sessions, as well as creative and educational workshops. My background is in STEM. I got a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in neuroscience. I have experience working for the medical industrial complex in mental health and nursing. And I also have a certificate in yoga and yoga teaching. And I think all of that is really important just to say that I've been in these systems and I've seen the ways in which they are not built for people with my identities, and they don't really honor all that I am and all that people who share my identities do. And so I have a really deep passion and I think a gift for bringing folks together and uplifting and supporting the well-being and healing and prosperity of creatives, especially those who are multi-marginalized. So that's who I am. I'm gonna hand it over to AJ to introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, my name is AJ. I use she and they pronouns. I'm a disabled Black, queer, trans, non-binary, multidisciplinary artist. I'm a chameleon, shape-shifting through creative and healing practices, an artist, a healer, a photographer, a stylist, a designer, a dancer, an event curator, a creative director, a project manager. I received my MBA in project management. I am an herbalist and a spiritualist, and my identities go on and on. I offer sound healing using my voice and singing bowls and sound bowls in a practice I call AJ Samar, which I hope to share with you all today. Thank you. I create art inspired by and centered around my personal and communal experience. So I'm really, really blessed and honored to be here sharing space with you all. This all informs my practice and in my day-to-day life and my art. I strive to create the beauty that I need to see in this world with creation centered around community, healing, self-care, self-pride, and harm reduction and awareness. Thanks for having me, and thanks for being in this space with me today.
All right, y'all. So I'm very excited to have Norma Jean here as our ASL interpreter. Please pin the ASL interpreter if you'd like. I really am so excited to have a program and have the support to have ASL at this program because language justice is disability justice. Our body minds inform how we communicate. And I really believe that movement is a form of language, not only in ASL, but when we dance and when we think about the ways that our movement changes based upon the way that we're feeling or our pain levels or our stress. So just here, I really want to just deprioritize spoken language as a primary way of connecting. So while you're here today, if you feel like you want to come off of mute and speak when you want to share, we honor that. If you'd like to use ASL, we honor that. If you'd like to share in the chat, we honor that. If you don't want to share at all, if you want to share it with emojis only, whatever you feel, I want you to feel really, really empowered to come with that. Cool, cool. Let me try that real quick.
It'll be in the bottom left corner Ande when you're sharing your screen. You can check.
Right. I remember you showed me, but I'm like, I think Rosalie might be right. You have to do it at the same time. Okay, cool. Give me 1 second. There's no rush here today. And that's why I was excited to have 3 hours to do this because I want us to all feel like we can expand into ourselves in this space. Next, I would like to give a land and liberation acknowledgement. While I was doing this presentation, I was trying to figure out how to do a land acknowledgement, and it was interesting because I realized that I want to learn more about the land that I'm on now. I recently moved to Mexico. So in this exploration, I realized that I will be doing more work with that, but also it led me into thinking about just land in general and, with the current genocides that are ongoing and just being a Black, multi-marginalized person. This is what I came to, is a land and liberation acknowledgement. So take a moment. I am currently residing on the traditional lands of the Maya, the Yucateco people. We acknowledge that this land is the home and traditional land belonging to these people. I honor and give gratitude for the Maya people who are still caretakers of this land. And in reminder of what it means to keep one body safe when so many are not, let us take a moment of silence in gratitude that we are safe in our bodies today and that we are safe to gather here today. We mourn the loss of life, liberty, opportunity, pleasure, and rest of Black and Brown and Indigenous peoples facing genocide and oppression in the US and in the global South. We bear witness to and pray for the liberation of Palestine and Sudan and Tigray and Haiti and Mali and Myanmar. And you can drop in the chat other places that you'd like to uplift. We commit to caring for ourselves and for others as essential to the work of dismantling white supremacist, capitalist, neo-colonial forces of oppression that seek to diminish us. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Let's just take a moment now to breathe, and you can either follow along here or you can just intuitively breathe for 3 seconds. For 3 breaths. My apologies. Just taking a moment. Ashe. Now I'd like to move into some community agreements, some agreements to ground us in this space and to ground you in, I'm sorry. Trying to figure out. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I would like to start with some community agreements to ground us in this space and to ground you in consent for being here and what we all consent to doing in this space for ourselves and for one another. So I'm going to read those out loud. The first one is, my body is my greatest teacher. I commit to honoring my body's innate wisdom by listening non-judgmentally and responding compassionately. I know myself best. I commit to honoring my body-mind's needs, pacing myself, and choosing the participation level that aligns with my current and evolving capacity and desire. Take space, make space. I commit to remaining intentional about how I take and make space, and to uplifting those most marginalized in the space, keeping in mind that multi-marginalized folks have varying levels of privilege depending on the space and those present. And if I can just get everyone to agree to that, either verbally or with emojis or in the chat, however feels best for you, just to say that you consent to being here. We do not have capacity for any type of transformative justice in the context of this space. So anybody that is not in alignment with these community agreements and is disruptive to the space will have to be removed, and we will have to discuss that at another time. But now that we have that, welcome.
We're so grateful and excited that you decided to join us on this very accessible adventure with Erhi Adventures. That's me and Ande, where each of us will be co-creating this experience together. Before we embark, let's start with some very essentials. Participation is optional. Your presence is valuable, video on or off. You can share if and how you'd like. Honor names and pronouns. If you mess up, amend and apologize. Add yours if you feel called. If no pronouns, use their name. Add the phonetic spelling of your name so we can honor you and your pronunciation. This event will be recorded. If you'd like to remain anonymous, feel free to use pseudonyms or stay off camera. And if you'd like your shares to be removed from any future playbacks or shares, you can privately message Ande or email us at erhiadventures@gmail.com. We want y'all to feel welcome and empowered to show up however feels safest for you. So once again, welcome. Take a few moments to take this in, and we're gonna jump right in momentarily. Also, we're gonna drop some things in the chat for you and then jump into the agenda. Okay, so for the agenda for today, I'm just going to give you the run through so you know what to expect. We're going to get started with trip essentials, then move into grounding meditation, a very quick lesson, non-negotiables, then we're going to take a break. After our break, we're going to ease on in and then move to some music and movement before another break. Then we're going to talk conflict and compromise, take another break because sometimes things can get, real deep. And then we're going to dive into creating new realities, creating collectively, reflections, and sharing before we close out our adventure. And of course, the adventure goes on past our time here today, but this is just the run through of our agenda here. So of course, we want this adventure to take you to new heights and new places as you take what resonates and leave what doesn't.
And y'all, wherever you see break there, that's just a built-in break. Feel free to take breaks throughout this entire time that we're here together. Feel free to stim, feel free to lay down, feel free to eat snacks, feel free to go outside, hug your pets, do anything that you want to do in this time. Do not feel that you need to be here and engaged in any particular kind of way. Honor your body, honor your needs. And yeah, we don't subscribe to all of that white supremacist ableist stuff that says that there is any particular way to be here. And with that, we are at our first built-in break. And so I'm going to honor my body and my capacity and regroup a little bit. And also, evidence-based research says that people cannot really focus for more than 30 minutes at a time. And I believe in honoring that, even though capitalism just be researching for nothing. So yeah, I'll see y'all in 10 minutes, which is...
Also, check out the last message I sent in the chat, which is the link to our playlist. This is a collaborative event, and so of course we have a collaborative playlist. Feel free to add any songs you'd like to bring into the space. If any of our conversations spark up some juicy song in your mind, feel free to drop it in there so we can all partake in this. Ooh, I see some things popping up already. Sorry, my ADHD brain, y'all. But yes, drop the songs. I love that. Come on, period. I love that. I love that. So yeah, the link is in the chat. And if it gets lost and you need it, you can send a message to @AJ the artist, and I can send it directly to you at any point during the event. And we're gonna get started with the first thing on the agenda, trip essentials. So I'd like for you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or if you like to daydream with your eyes open, that's cool too. Imagine we're all on an all-inclusive trip where essentials are taken care of, period. List 1 to 3 items you'd bring to feel most comfortable or safe. You can share this in the chat, you can write it down, you can come off mute, like of course, pick your adventure. But we're gonna take about 5 minutes to think about this and then discuss. If any questions come up as you're deciding your items, you can note them or jot them down and we'll get into it in a few. So we're gonna just take 5 minutes.
All right. Coming back, y'all. So while I was thinking about this, because this was an activity that AJ had dreamed up, I had so many questions. So what I want to know, like, what came up as you were deciding what you were going to bring? Maybe like what feelings or what questions? What negotiations did you have to make? Oh yeah, was it easy to pick in just 5 minutes? And how many things do you think that you'd actually need to bring to navigate a space without being given any information about the location and the logistics? Or, if you had any other questions that came up.
I see we have pen and paper, leg pillows, I know that's right, a journal or maybe coloring book. with colored pencils. A book, Akweke's fiction or poetry, sunglasses, art supplies, my shikiri, period. Another journal, okay. I also put down journals, so I love this. Singing bowl, gifted by AJ, period. A camera. I love to take pictures of everything. And yeah, that's beautiful. Playlist with favorite music. I love that. At least one, but probably a few cute weather, environment, appropriate outfits. Come on, style. My crystals, journal, squishmallow, Ruffalo. I'm sorry, I'm not
A
pronouncing that
squishmallow, right?
correctly.
A squishmallow.
Squishmallow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I love that because I also had
Yes.
I had my pillow pet on my
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Let me go get my blanket.
Wow. I see needed a few more than 3. LOL. My heating pad, my favorite sweatshirt, cozy socks, tea, and electrolyte mix, plus breakfast making. Habitual breakfast helps my body maintains its baseline. Oh, I love that. Such a beautiful answer. All these answers are so beautiful. I want to hang out with y'all. I see body oil and water bottle plus phone numbers of my loved ones. Oh, I love that. Okay. Oh yeah. I was struggling because of the inaccessibility of traveling is real. And it was nice not to plan for inaccessibility. So one of mine was makeup. Yes. I love that.
So much.
I love that.
Oh my gosh. I put down my Stitch items. And yes, I said items because I have
She is
several.
obsessed.
So I have to have my plushie Stitch, like period, gifted to me by Ande. And I also have a blanket that folds into a pillow. So it's like 2 in 1. And it has like a little hood. So it's really a 3 in 1 if you like to do like hood and cape things, if you know, you know. And the girlies that get it, you know what I mean? But I like to be comfortable. So I love that y'all are showing your plushies and things. I love that. Let's get comfortable. I don't know how I didn't even have them right next to me because I was tripping, but
yeah, I
this.
see also warm cotton sweaters, stones and crystals, herbs and supplements,
Come on,
journals.
herbs.
A lot of journals. I love this. I love this.
Also, I put down lip gloss. I gotta have my plethora of lip glosses.
Okay. So for me, I put my plushie too, Indie. I put my phone and charger and I put my cane. And so that's the thing that I was thinking about. So I know that I think maybe I might be an overthinker, but when someone says all the essentials are taken care of, I don't always trust that, essentials are going to include what they think about. Now, because we told y'all that it was an accessible adventure, who said that in here that I loved said that. Vanessa, yes, that you didn't have to plan for the inaccessibility. So yeah, I wanted to just make a point there to some of us have to think more about whether or not other people are going to understand what is essential for us. Okay. And so for me, I'm not going anywhere without my cane. Now, it might be a day where I don't need Goldie as much because I have a dynamic disability, but I don't know if you're going to know that that's essential. And for me to feel comfortable and safe, I'm going to need them. And yeah, and I love that Kai and a couple other people noted that, yeah, like it's probably going to be more than 1 to 3 things. Like we often go to these like different, conferences or whatever, what have you. And then they have these like really like unnuanced questions that are just like, what's 1 to 3 things that you would need on a desert island? I'm like, I'm not surviving on a desert island with 3 things. I'm sorry. None of us are, if we're honest, but like just thinking about that. And yeah, in 5 minutes, when you're picking quickly, maybe you don't think about all these things, but when you have months and months to think about it, I spent so much time thinking about all these questions that, and I really had a lot of fun. So I'm really happy that Peter gave me money to do this.
I really love that y'all said that piece about 1 to 3, because there are just different types of brains and different types of people in the world, and I love all of that. But mine is one that definitely likes a lot of things when it comes to my comfort. And so I just wanted, 1 to 3 to be a place to start your mind and your imagination going. And I'm so glad that y'all took it as far or as close and short as you needed for you, really getting into this habit of creating this really accessible journey where like the sky is the limit. Anything and everything is welcome here as far as our comfort, our safety, our needs. So I love that. And Kay said something in the
yeah, Kay
chat.
said, I'd bring my overhead headphones so people don't talk to me.
Listen, I got
Period.
mine right here.
Journal and yoga mat. And is
Absolutely.
this Savan? Am I pronouncing that right? Feel free to let me know if I'm not.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Seashell that my grandma gave me. Oh, I love that.
Ooh.
Plushie named Freddie, spelled Freddie with multiple spells. I love that.
Period.
Okay. Struggled with the third one because imagined everything covered. So it's like most comforting to me. I was thinking about crochet blanket from my mama, green onyx crystal. Also ran to my room to Frank Betty.
Period.
Okay, so thank you. I love this because what about that? If we really truly believed and it was possible and is possible for all of our needs to be covered, and we only had to think about our comfort, how would your list change?
Love this already. Thank y'all for sharing so deeply. Thank you for showing up for yourself and for us.
Oh, and Kay says, my Sag rising dream is always an all-inclusive trip. Okay. I will go pretty much anywhere with an N95 and a comfy bed waiting for me. Ashe, love
I know
that.
that's right.
Okay.
I know that's right.
Because when we're thinking about accessibility, we have to think about COVID consciousness and caring about COVID because COVID is still a thing. Okay. All right, y'all. So I love that we are getting to know each other and that y'all are being so interactive. Next, we are going to, actually, I love this. Realizing how much I prioritize traveling light over traveling comfortable, thinking survival, not comfort. This is really helpful. Oh, I love that.
I like that. I like that. And see, one thing about me, I will always be an overpacker. I'm gonna take, and people be like, AJ, you are going for a 3-day trip. Why do you need 5 suitcases? Listen, don't worry about what I need, okay? Because I'm gonna have it covered when I get there. I know, listen, I feel it. I feel it. I love this.
But that's also another point that sometimes overpacking might be because you feel like, you're not going to have that thing when you get there. And so if you knew that where you were going was also accessible and all inclusive, what would you feel like you didn't have to bring anymore? And so Vanessa says, yes, 5 suitcases. I know people can relate. And Erica, so going beyond the 3, I would bring watercolors, stuff to collage, and I would lean into my creativity. And I love that. And I've been thinking a lot about that too, like how much of our energy goes into survival and how much that robs us of time for creativity, but how that is oppression's point, really. And so us still making space for creativity is really radical. Yeah. Vicky says, I'm packing everything. Yeah, that's why y'all go together. That's why y'all go together. Right. Like for me, having someone else carry all of the many bags I know I'm going to want to have is essential. That is another thing. Yes, for me, I will pack light because I am worried that I'm not going to be able to carry all of that. And I can't know how much pain I'm going to be in because future Ande is not past Ande. Okay. Oh, hello, TJ. It's okay. You are just in time. Settle in the space. Don't feel like you have to rush in.
Welcome, welcome.
And say you would bring over the ear headphones with all the music downloaded prior to trip in case there is no service. Yes, I like that forward thinking.
Okay.
Because just because we said it's accessible doesn't mean that we can plan for, I don't know, anything that takes out the internet system or the power, you know.
Okay.
There is also the forces that we cannot control as humans. So I love that.
The powers that be being.
Knitting supplies, collaging supplies, and a journal/used water bottle. Y'all love to journal. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yes, I know. Ooh,
I love that.
y'all get
Okay,
your
Kay.
journals
And we know we can't
ready.
expect any help from strangers carrying stuff as dark-skinned people. Now that is
On this trip, baby, you ain't got to carry nothing
on
you don't want
this
to.
trip, we don't got to carry nothing on this trip. There are no strangers, okay? Because we're collaborating. We're getting to know each other.
Okay.
We're building community. Okay?
Bonding
We're dreaming this up.
together.
All right.
I
So
love this for us.
I love this. I love this. So now we're going to move into meditation. Just taking a moment to just think about the juiciness of the possibility that all of our needs can be met. Finding a comfortable position that allows your body to relax as best as possible for your current circumstances. Taking a moment to just leave behind anything from before for just a moment. Getting back in touch with your body. And take a moment to come into the awareness that the surface that you are on is supported firmly by the ground, by the earth beneath it, and so are you. You are made of matter, and so you matter. Begin to feel the magnitude of all that you are. As you shift your mass physically, energetically, to increase comfort in your vessel, whatever that means for you. Let's take a moment to connect with the life-giving forces of our body. Begin to notice your breath. Don't feel like you have to change it. Just notice it. Non-judgmentally, if you can. You are wonderful just as you are. Bringing awareness to where you're feeling your breath most in your body. Feeling expansion with each inhale. and ease with each exhale. And if it feels within reach at this time, I invite you to deepen your breath, whatever that means for you. Remember, you know your body best. Give yourself permission to go with it. Keep breathing. Let your body be your anchor. And if it feels okay, begin to connect to the rhythm of your heartbeat. You can bring internal awareness to your heart space, or maybe place your hand on your heart or something on your heart space, whatever feels best. To just notice how your heart is beating, not judging, just noticing, releasing anything that anyone, any system, any individual has told you about what or how this heart that powers this body, this beautiful, perfect body, needs to be. And if it's available to you and sounds good, you could slowly rub or tap your heart space, maybe sway side to side or wiggle your limbs. Or you could visualize a soft, glowing light pulsing from your heart. Or you can simply remember that your heart is somewhere in there, supporting your being. And you do not have to do. Keep breathing however feels best. If you can, adjust your being to increase your comfort, even if by a single degree. Now let's connect to our inherent creative ability. If it's available to you and you feel like it, I invite you to rub your hands together or rub your hand on another body part or two body parts together, whatever you feel called, and feel the warmth you create. And if touch is not available and doesn't feel right at this time, imagine your body begin to glow. Visualizing is equally potent. There are no hierarchies here. Let your body, your mind decide. Where is this warm glow emanating from? What color is it? And whether by physically moving your body parts, or by visualizing, or by something else of your own design, I invite you to offer this warmth that you're gorgeously creating to any parts of your body that needs it. Take your time, slowing down signals to your body that it is safe to be here. Breathe in. I will courageously and vulnerably take up space. You may repeat if this resonates. As you breathe in, I will courageously and vulnerably take up space. Breathing out, I will create space for radical being. I will courageously and vulnerably take up space. I will create space for radical being. Allowing your being to move back into stillness, affirming that you decide what that feels like for you. It does not require you to do or be anything other than what your body asks of you. And as you continue to breathe, I invite you to give yourself a hug if that's available. Feel the container that holds you together. Or if touch is not right, feel yourself wrapped in the super juicy energy that is you. Whisper to yourself, I am invaluable in the fight for collective liberation because of who I am. I am invaluable to the fight for collective liberation because of who I am. Releasing everything and readjusting into whatever position feels nourishing right now. Breathe in gratitude for all that allowed you to be here, for the land, your ancestors, the water, the fire, the wind and earth spirits, the unknown and otherwise, choosing to show up for yourself and for the collective. Breathe in gratitude for all that we have survived and are surviving, known and unknown. Breathe in remembrance for all those we have lost prematurely, unjustly, in gratitude for their lives and for our continued fight to honor and avenge them with our breath, with our words, and with our world building. Exhale, knowing that what you have to offer is good. And now, if it'll serve you, take a breath in through your nose. Inhale the loving energy of community. Exhale, sigh it out through your mouth, releasing shame, releasing isolation, releasing insecurity, releasing the illusion of perfection. Inhale and audibly exhale as many times as you need. Shake it out, make some sounds or silly faces. Gratitude for being here. Gratitude for breathing with us. Gratitude for your commitment to the fight that is existence, and for believing with me that together we can make a way through. Now, taking a moment to return back. And next, we will go into a very quick little lesson. And we back, and we back, and we back, and we back. So I realized as I was dreaming up this beautiful, beautiful experience that it wouldn't actually be fully accessible unless I could ground us all in the space and in the knowing, making sure that we're all on the same page. So now we've grounded ourselves in the community agreements, we've grounded ourselves in our bodies and in our breath, but we got to make sure that everybody in the space knows what we're talking about. So I am going to go into a very quick little lesson.
After you drink some water.
All right, I'm gonna drink some water.
Community
Thank
friendly
you.
offering and an invitation to drink some water.
Thank you, AJ.
See.
Drink some water. Y'all see my face now. I'm gonna get off because I'm shy. Okie dokie dokie dokie. Alrighty. Alrighty. So when we're talking about disability, yeah, there's a lot of different definitions. Different people have different understandings and different things that are true for them as to what disability is. But just to ground us all in the different frameworks, or generally when in disability justice, what we are talking about. There is the medical model of disability, which focuses on what is wrong with the person and not what the person needs. And that's like the traditional view where they say the disability is caused by this person's physical or sensory mental impairments, and the impaired individual is the problem. And medical professionals are focusing on figuring out a cure, and that's the only way to alleviate the quote unquote effects of your impairment. The problem with that, though, is that yes, impairments and chronic illnesses pose real difficulties, but they aren't the main or only problem when we're moving through society. And so the social model focuses on the societal barriers, which is the environments, attitudes, and processes that make it hard for disabled folks, and not focusing just on their impairment or differences. And these barriers can be like inaccessible buildings, inaccessible services. It can be things not being in your preferred language. It can be just different ways of communicating. Then that could also just be attitudes, people assuming that because somebody has a disability or an impairment or just looks different, that they can't do certain things. And this can also be just inflexible organizational procedures and practices, which is like you come into class and you have to sit down and you have to be here for 2 hours straight and you can't eat anything and you can't talk and you have to ask when you need to go to the bathroom, et cetera, noting that all of us have different ways of being and different functionalities. And so both of these models are kind of interdependent, but the social model is focusing on addressing needs, removing barriers, and providing resources. Now we're going to talk about the principles of disability justice. One of the things that I really tried to do when I was building my presentation was, or not my presentation, just our workshop, was to make sure that we were trying to align ourselves with these principles. But I was like, well, not everybody knows what they are. So the principles of disability justice, which were written by Patty Byrne and Simpson Valid. The first one, oh, this is the list of them, but actually I'm gonna go and show y'all the full thing, because they have a whole, yeah, there we go. And we can talk about it. And I don't want this to be like a presentation. So y'all can, talk about this in the chat, any experiences that you've had with this, or ask questions if this is the first time that you're hearing this, if you're confused about anything. Yeah, let's just like make this interactive, and let's get through it real cool so that we can get back to some fun things. Not that this isn't fun, but just this is serious. We're getting serious. Okay. So the first principle is intersectionality. Like our great mother, Audre Lorde, says, we do not live single issue lives. Intersectionality is that we have many things that are going on that impact us. I'm Black, I'm also queer, I'm trans, I'm disabled, I'm chronically ill, et cetera, et cetera. And so therefore, the way that disability shows up in my life is going to be different than the way it shows up for a cis-het white man, for example. And, so we have to challenge like disability rights and all these movements to understand that like that's not an afterthought. It's not, oh, we get the disability rights and then we go in and start thinking about our other identities. Like we intersectional out here. Leadership of the most impacted. So that's nothing about us without us, because we know these systems best. And so we are the experts. Anti-capitalist politics, that's saying that our worth is not dependent on conforming or producing. Our value is inherent. The fourth one is cross-movement solidarity. Again, so because we do not live single issue lives, it doesn't really make sense for us to be having all these different individual movements trying to piecemeal this thing. Various systems of oppression are interconnected. And so we need to unite to work together towards liberation. And ableism also reinforces and upholds other systems of oppression. 5 is recognizing wholeness. Disabled people are whole people. We're not just our disabilities. We are complete with our history, our life experiences, our dreams, desires, just as every person is. Sustainability. And this is about honoring our bodies, honoring our capacities, and honoring our needs. I really love this one. It says we learn to pace ourselves individually and collectively to be sustained long-term. We value the teachings of our body and experiences and use them as a critical guide and reference point to help us move away from urgency and into a deep, slow, transformative, unstoppable wave of justice and liberation. I just had to read that one because that was something I was really, really, really trying to embody as I was thinking about these activities and these questions, coming up with what it would look like to have this accessible adventure. 7 is a commitment to cross-disability solidarity. And that is saying that the participation of all of our community members, even and especially the ones who are most often left out, are valuable. And that is why it's so important to make spaces accessible, and accessible meaning that those who need to be in the space can be there and can show up as their full selves. And it's important that we, again, unite against oppression. 8 is interdependence. We are all interconnected, all living systems and the land. That means that my liberation is tied to your liberation, and that decolonial systems of care are going to be the way forward because we have to reject institutions. Collective access, and that is reimagining access from a perspective of collective needs rather than individual accommodations. And so that's what I was thinking about, again, that when you think about accessibility as some separate thing that is not community building, then again, you are operating from a space when you are trying to add people back in. And true liberation is always going to be collective, and no body mind can be left behind because we're all beautiful. And that is principle 10, collective liberation. So that was just a quick thing going into that. Alrighty, so that's the principles of disability justice. Really love that. Oh, oops. And now talking about, let's talk about this. Anybody have anything to share about any of those principles or anything that stood out to them? Feel free to come off mute or drop it in the chat. I see that Zell says, I love that it's rooted in anti-capitalism because it also adds depth to the medical versus social conversation. Like neither model fully holds what's right. It's still rooted in the exploitation of brown and black bodies because capitalism itself creates disability in perpetuity. Oof, say that. Yes, yes. And that beautifully brings me to the next thing, which is T.L. Lewis's definition of ableism, which when I first, yes, Vanessa, I love the DJ framework. Like I have been really trying to like live my life, really embodying these principles ever since I like really started first ever since I found out about it and just read care work, started identifying a lot of y'all on this call know it can be a whole roller coaster process of coming into disability and understanding that a lot of us are disabled and because of capitalism and oppression. But yes, T.L. Lewis's definition of ableism. Ableism is a system of assigning value to people's bodies and minds based on societally constructed ideas of normalcy, productivity, desirability, intelligence, excellence, and fitness. These constructed ideas are deeply rooted in eugenics, anti-Blackness, misogyny, colonialism, imperialism, and capitalism. This systemic oppression leads to people and society determining people's value based on their culture, age, language, appearance, religion, birth, or living place, health/wellness, and their ability to satisfactorily reproduce, excel, or behave. And you do not have to be disabled or identify as disabled, whether or not you might be disabled, but it's not for me to decide. Just a lot of people are out here not identifying as disabled. And again, that is by design of oppression to make it so that it is more difficult for us to align against them. But let me get off my soapbox real quick. You do not have to be disabled to experience ableism. Like things like the strong black woman trope, where it's like Black women don't experience any type of pain or mental illness, or they're not struggling, or that is a form of ableism, whether or not you are disabled. Fat phobia is highly rooted in ableism because that is just by definition, not only assigning value to somebody's body based on size, but also then creating an entire system of oppression based on that. And also things like people saying like only people with pre-existing conditions are affected. So COVID precautions don't got nothing to do with me. Like these are all examples of ableism, as we all know. So just trying to like call us all into the space and knowing that this is not, oh, there's disabled people over there. And so therefore this is their issue. This is our issue and not mine. Just bring us all together. And then the next thing is access needs and accessibility. And before I do that, I'm gonna take a moment, check the chat, see how we doing, get some emojis, see how y'all following, y'all doing good, y'all drinking water, taking breaks. So yeah, well, I was doing a lot of research to just figure out like what does the general population, what does the public say, like define access needs are as, and what do they define as accessibility? Because again, like to me, as I'm breaking it down, I'm like, accessibility at the end of the day is access. What does access mean? It's like a door, an entry point, but not just an entry point. Now that I'm in the space, can I be in the space? So I seen on the DC Office of Disability Rights office that they said that something is accessible if it is easy to approach, to enter, to operate, participate in, and or use safely and with dignity. And then it said, for people with disabilities. But I think that that's a pretty great definition, considering for everybody to say, is something accessible? Can people approach it? Can they enter? Can they operate while they're there? Can they fully participate and use it safely and with dignity? Like, it's not going to require them to feel shame, to feel isolated, to cut parts or leave parts of themselves at the door to be able to be in this space. And also in reading, in preparing for this, I was rereading some parts of Care Work and looking at my bookmarks. And I was really, really moved by when Leah Lakshmi Piepsna Samarasana says that there are certain things that when they belong, show our body. So certain things that when they are there, show our body that they belong. So I was like, this is my definition of accessibility. What, when it is there, shows your body that you belong? Because that not only really encapsulates like access needs, but also accessibility. And if, coming from, my STEM background and everything, I'm like, people's functional ability vary widely. Sensory-based abilities such as sight and hearing exist on a spectrum from blind to 20/20 vision. Maybe there's something more than that, I don't know. Cognitive ability and capacity varies with neurodiversity. It varies by condition and even varies with your pain level or stress level on any given day. Your physical ability varies with differences in mobility, dexterity, and strength, but also in pain level if you're experiencing any kind of chronic illness flare. And the people's ability changes, their level of ability changes with age, and any injury or acute illness can temporarily or permanently alter ability. So I'm trying to figure out, why is everything from community spaces, like community as an idea, and like in that idea of that buzzword that we think about now, to actual physical spaces and buildings created and designed with this non-existent perfect person in mind, where if even one singular person, your needs are going to change on any given day, whether or not you're disabled. And Kai says in here, Alice Shepard talks about accessibility being beautiful and sexy, etc. Dignity includes a full spectrum of experiences, including beauty, romance, etc. Do accessibility needs need to include these things and facilitate these things? Ooh, I love that. I really love that. Yeah, Alice Shepard also talks a lot about disability as an art, and that being the source of our genius. And that was a lot of what I was thinking about too when I was creating this experience, thinking about like, what are the things that we really need? And sometimes that's just permission to just be as we are in these spaces, because we already know, and especially because if we have like a virtual event like this, where you can be in your space and where you can curate what you need, not feeling like you have to be on the video, or feeling like you have to share coming off mute or having your camera on, whatever those things are. What are those things that allow us to feel like we belong and to just be? Oh, and AJ says sometimes what we need is, oh yeah. You just like, oh, that's good. No, I said that. Yo. So yeah, I'm curious, does anybody else have another definition of accessibility, or just anything else to add in? Mona says Alice Shepard is a goddess. The world is a better place for her presence. Ashe, I agree. Okay, AJ just reminded me that time is still a thing, even when you ask for a lot of it. But yeah, I'm having a really great time. But let's keep going. I'm going to keep going because the next one is about this still. So yes. Let's see. Zell says, to me, it also involves designing from disability first, not from ability first. Yes. Yes, that is that. And access is love, Alice Wong. Yes. And that also brings me into this, like the curb cut effect. So that is basically a fancy thing that they call this phenomenon, which was when there was a direct action that happened in Berkeley, California, I believe in the 70s. And that was to make crosswalks accessible for people who had wheelchairs, because prior to that, all of the curbs were high. And so after they did all of this organizing, all of this movement to get these curb cuts, what they found was that it was widely beneficial for other people, for skateboarders, for people rolling luggage, or for pushing strollers. And so basically, when things are made more accessible for certain people, many other people benefit. And so going right back to what Zell says, if you design from disability first, if you design including everybody, you don't have to go back and change things. When you design, it's also called the universal design. When you make something accessible from the beginning, there's no need to make multiple. There's no need for one large automatic door and then a door that's not accessible. There's no need for a singular stall that is accessible. You can just make all of the stalls bigger, and then it's better for everybody included. Adam Norse talks a lot about design accessibility, which I have a lot of feels about, design as in visual design. But it has this article that talks about just creating from disability or from a place of accessibility. It's like anybody can get up a ramp, but not everyone can get up a set of stairs. So again, building one thing that is accessible to everybody, you don't have complaints when there is font that is too big. Everyone can read font that is large, but not everyone can read font that is smaller. And some of these things don't necessarily have to do with disability. So it's just us now starting to notice the ways in which we can create spaces, or we can, some spaces, we might have to go back in and do this after the fact. But when we're creating spaces for ourselves, what can we think about? Because when we build things, we have to think about things that not only our life necessitates, but what other people, what our comrades' lives necessitates as well.
Like a personal story that I want to interject here. This is AJ, y'all. And so learning about the curb cut effect while preparing for this, because I didn't know it was a phenomenon. I was like, oh, wow, like that just makes sense to me. But I'm like, this is amazing. It made me think of a recent experience that we had, because I nominated Ande for a year of rest with Getaway Cabin. And they told me to ask if we could get the accessible cabin. And I've gone to a Getaway Cabin more than once, and my experience was okay. I liked Getaway Cabin, but I never knew that they had accessible cabins. So we get there and we have our weekend in the accessible cabin. And when I tell you, it doubled my love for Getaway Cabin. I already loved Getaway Cabin, but now being in this space, like where things were thought out as a full figure person, it was just more space. Like there was just so much more accessibility. There were things that were thought of that I just didn't even think that they would ever think of. And it made me think about this, like how would life be if we already did things like Ande is saying, universal design that includes everybody. And it's so interesting because it reminds me of the first conversation we had during the first activity, when y'all were saying how, you usually have to prepare for people to not be considerate of your specific needs. And so I was already prepared to have to bring things and do things to make myself comfortable, but I didn't even have to do that. I could literally just show up and just be and have my needs met. So that's my personal interjection and personal story about the curb cut effect.
So this is just a really, really non-extensive list, but I really just like, from the things that I could think about and the things that I could find on the internet, I just thought of anything that could be considered an access need, whether for someone with a disability or somebody that might not necessarily consider themselves disabled. Is there anything on here? I'm not going to read every single thing, but is there any on here that y'all didn't think about, or you realize that you might need now, or you just didn't think of as an access need? You can just feel free to put that in the chat. Junia says, this makes me think of when COVID hit in 2020 and quote unquote able-bodied people started implementing accessibility, and disabled people have been advocating it since way back when. Yes, I feel strongly about this. And yeah, some examples that they're giving are, oh, I lost my place. Work from home, video conferencing, events and educational institutions. And because these measures weren't formed with disability justice at its foundation, they were quick to be removed once things were back to normal.
Yes.
Literally that. Yes. And so let's see. Yes, I feel very strongly about that. Another one was the fact that prior to and after they decided that COVID was over, if you decided or if you were not able to get to some doctor's appointments, they're like, no, you can't have telehealth. I'm like, this is for health, bro. Like, I can't leave my house. But yeah, this is why disability justice is so important. So yeah, some folks are giving adding some things in the chat. Easy access to outdoor air due to problems with indoor air quality. Oh yeah, that's a really good one. Schedule and agenda in advance is so important for me, and I was so glad to see it here when I'm not always validated in my need for it. Yes, that's something that's really important for me too, because I'm anxious. I want to know like what's about to happen, or not even just with anxiety too, just like to be able to prepare to like my capacity levels, just anything. So I really like that. Savon says, I love how language justice is emphasized with translators and interpreters. There are so many languages in this life and world. Yes, yes. And often there's often times when I would work, when I was working in the hospital, where people will assume things about people's disabilities because of their inability to communicate it, either because English isn't their first language, or just because they don't communicate in the exact same way, or they're just not, code switching or whatever the hell. But like being able to have not only like someone who speaks your language, but understands you culturally is actually really important in feeling like, yeah, I can be here. Easy to navigate floor plans, please. Yes. And that's not just for folks who are in wheelchairs, which is what they often make that seem like that's necessary for. A lot of us are clumsy, either due to our disabilities or otherwise.
Or lack of spatial awareness. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah. What holds me up when sometimes is how do we navigate when access needs are in conflict, like low noise versus increased volume or bright light versus. Oh, Erica, so we about to talk about that. Let me not just go right to that slide just yet, but we have a couple activities we're gonna do. I love that you brought that up, because that is something that we have talked about a lot, and it's something that we have discussed a lot in our personal life as two disabled girlies trying to live and do life together, but also just like being out in the world as people who don't.
Also, as a disabled girly that loves emojis, I just want to affirm that like y'all are giving me life right now with all of these reacts. I love a good emoji communication. So thank you for showing up in that way.
And now, if y'all are feeling like doing this, or you can just put it in the chat if you'd like to, either you can go to menti.com, which is the cute little thing that I'm using here, and put that code in, and you can put your non-negotiables in. And now that we know that access needs aren't just for disabled folks, like I didn't want to just put like, what are your access needs, but like, what are the things where when you see them, you know you belong? What are the things that make you feel most welcome? What are the things that people might not think about? Like, put those things in the chat. I want to see, like, so we can just like kind of get an idea.
And yeah, you can use the QR code as well. If you want to take a picture of it, it should take you to the word cloud.
Okay, I see some people's
things are popping up, and it'll put all the different shares on the screen. Yep, there we go. And this can be anything, y'all, from like the temperature of your space to the ability for you to lay down. Like, I don't even want to give too many examples because I don't want to make you think it has to be a certain way, but
just something that when you think about you, like if like think about it like if you how did I think about it before? What was I gonna say? Like if this thing wasn't offered or provided in the space, like you either wouldn't attend, or it will probably be difficult or detrimental, or like you would really have to think about like, I don't know if I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have to like do a lot after this, like anything that you need in a space. Oh, I see Zell said, I watched a documentary with audio descriptions for the first time recently and was shocked by how helpful it was for me, even as someone with excellent vision. Schedule, agenda, and advances actually helped me as much as I know facility. Yes. But yeah, there's so many things like I realized that if I was offered them, I would be like, yeah, I really would love that. Like I spent so many years not watching things with subtitles. Now I cannot watch things without subtitles. I don't know how people do that. Like I can hear, but I can't really hear, you know?
Okay, I can hear subtitles. If I can't read it or see it, I can't hear it. My senses work like that.
Who all finna be there? That's real. That's real. Who I need to know some idea of who's gonna be in the space prior to there. Yes, see somebody else in the chat said who all finna be there. Also, can I smoke there? Do I have a place to decompress or be able to like run out real quick if it still starts to get too overstimulating? Like, I need to know these things. That's so important. That is so important. Like, I just want to, okay, I just want that to be a thing now. Like, black and brown people said they access need is who all finna be there. Okay. That is my need.
I love that.
Okay. COVID precautions, period. POC centered. A quiet place to decompress. Can I smoke there? Captions. Access to ice packs. Ooh, I love that because I've been many a place where, yeah, once my ice pack is soft, I'm done for. Content warnings. Yes, I love these. These are so good.
I love y'all.
I love y'all.
Everybody in this room.
But yes, I love how we're seeing that a lot of these things are not necessarily things that are about the physical space, which is a lot of what people who are in all of these institutions are telling us are like, oh, well, we're making things accessible. Are you making things accessible? If I showed them these lists, could they check off any of these things? I'm just asking. And yes, again, easy access to a window or easy access to outdoor air. I love that too, because yeah, I don't trust everybody's germs at all, especially, with COVID, but even with like wearing masks for a long time, like especially when I was working in the hospital, we were in a locked facility and we had no windows. Abolish psych prisons, y'all. But yeah, like I'm like, I have to go so far to be able to like have a moment to be able to take this mask off. And I have a migraine now. I have to like do all of this stuff to be able to like leave my patient. Like that is not making sure that I can get the best possible care. But they don't care because the medical industrial complex doesn't care about people, cares about money. But yeah. Again, soapbox.
Shameless self-plug, art by AJ. If you need some harm reduction arts, let me know. We have some, what's it called? When they're the stock images. Yes, stock images that I created with Zero Stigma art that y'all can use, some more inclusive artwork.
Yeah. AJ's an amazing artist.
Thank you.
She's doing stuff. Oh, and is there water there and food? And what kind of food? Because a lot of us got GI issues, okay? The girlies out here got IBS. Don't just tell me there's food there. I probably can't eat it. Ability to lay down in the space. Yes. That actually makes me think like one of the things, oh my God, I have feelings for this experience to this day. This is when I actually got acquainted with Peter Performance Space because I was at a trans and gender inclusive health and wellness convening that was in the space that they share. And this was the most accessible experience that I ever experienced from the beginning to the end. Like from the beginning, they sent us an email that let us know all the COVID precautions. It let us know the accessibility of the space. It let us know what we was gonna finna be getting into. Like I felt prepared. I knew what I needed to bring. When I got there, there was a different types of seating. You could sit, you could lay, you could be on yoga mats. Like the space, like when we were having things that were like panels, they had, puzzles and art, things for us to do with our hands. Like the food, like it was labeled, there was different options. There were so many things that it really like set my bar. I'm like, at this point now, y'all can't talk to me. I know that it is possible for us to do this. I know that it's possible for spaces to be this way. And so that's why I'm on this quest.
Thought and draft.
Go ahead.
I said thought and draft the community agreement not to ask about what's wrong with people's bodies when mobility devices shift. Favorite response to my crutches ever, Vanessa saying, your crutches are so cute, rather than asking me why I need them or what happened. I love that. Absolutely.
Yes. I really have experienced so many times just going through the world where not even just community where I'm like, oh, y'all know me. Strangers want to be like, oh, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what if I say some wild shit, right? Like, you don't even know what I'm about to say. Like, that's really, what if I just start walking up and asking y'all, what's wrong with you? Like, that's, who raised y'all?
All as strangers, thank you. And that also brings me to another one of AJ's personal interjections, the airport. One of my favorite and least favorite spaces that I've come to accept and love and identify as, like, proudly as a disabled person, because up until a couple years ago when I had toe surgery and had to fly out the country, long story, don't ask, I would never get wheelchair assistance at the airport. Mind you, I've been disabled my entire life. I did not know I was disabled until I got later into my 20s, and my great sib right here brought me the gospel, okay, and told me about myself, disability justice. And it really changed my life, because I was like, wow, so I don't have to struggle while healing from this surgery, or like even after that, because now to this day I get my needs met. I get my wheelchair and I go about my day. But a beautiful story also has the bad part. People love to look at me, a hot femme, and they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, can't you just get up and walk? And I'm like, actually, no. If I try to get up and fall over right now, like, then what are you gonna do? Why are you in my business?
No,
So I absolutely love that. Normalize minding your business. Normalize not asking people what's wrong with them, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with all the masterpieces that we are.
And there's nothing wrong with things that make us more comfortable, more safe, and more able to be.
Okay, because that's the point. Like, we all have different abilities.
And on that note, let's take a 5-minute break.
Drink
and I
water.
encourage you to drink some water. There is a little cute little jiffy of a little water cup going up and down. It says drink some water. Let's take 5 minutes. All right, y'all, come on back. So before we get into the body movements, we're gonna, try to answer some questions, do a little brainstorming. And so I just shared for y'all like one of my most easeful community experiences that I had, which was the Gender Justice LA event. So now I want y'all to think about what was the most easeful community space or event that you ever experienced. So like think about what time it was at or how long it was, where was the space? How much stimulus level was there in terms of like noise, smells, what is it? Lights. Thank you. Those things, senses, y'all, the ones we learned when we were kids. The ones that I learned in my neuroscience degree when I had to learn all of the every nerve anyway. So yeah, just thinking about all those different things and just other things, just thinking about like what was the most easeful community experience or event or anything of that nature, something that involved other people that you experienced. And then after thinking about that, there'll be some other questions that'll be in the chat that you can also think about in terms of trying to think about accessibility. And so we'll take 10. We're a little short on time. Let's still take the 10 minutes. There's no urgency here.
All right. Sorry, y'all.
Oh, I don't apologize for being you, weirdo.
But coming back to the space, or don't. But if you want to, we'd love to have you back. Drop some emojis. Let me know if you're here, ready to keep rolling in this adventure that we're on together.
Yeah. All right. So I want to hear from y'all. So yeah, either you can come off a mute or drop it in the chat. I want to hear like, yeah, what were some of the things that made these spaces useful for you? What did you come up with? What did you do in this time? Did you write about it? Did you not?
Did you doodle?
Did you doodle? And did you think about if you did come up with a space, did you think about ways that it could be more accessible? Yeah, just let us know if you'd like to share.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Amazing. Hi, Vanessa speaking. Yeah, one of the moments that really resonated with me that happened most recent was when I had a performance at the Red Cat in LA. It was interesting because majority of folks there were non-disabled, at least not open identifying disabled folks there. And I remember mentioning during one of like the tech days, like, oh, hey, y'all, like, I have migraines. I have different symptoms that manifest into a migraine. So I sometimes need an ice pack. And so that kind of keeps me grounded and present. So if y'all see me with that, please don't panic or anything. I'll be fine. Or if I need to go lay down, I stated my access needs. And I remember during the show days, they left like little ice packs in my dressing room, and I felt so held at that moment. It was amazing. I wasn't expecting that, which was really beautiful, and it just made me feel like I could show up fully during that week, and it just it was just one of my favorite moments that I feel like I'll cherish for a very long time. And thought.
Oh my goodness, I might actually cry. That is really beautiful.
love
Thank you for
that.
sharing that.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, period, Lupita.
I love that.
Anyone else who'd like to share can come off of mute or post put it in the chat, whatever.
Lisa said, I love the ground rules you gave up front. Me too. Me too. I'll go, AJ here. So this was a really hard question for me personally. And I had a long yeah, I had a long time to think about it. And in the end, like honestly, it made me do a lot of self-reflecting and like really look at how for a very, very, very long time, because I didn't identify as a disabled person, I was like very uncomfortable in a lot of spaces, and also just like taking on this plight of like bringing my comfort things and bringing my access things with me and like not sharing them. And so now, I'm getting a lot more education and getting a lot more comfortable, knowing what these things are and communicating them. And so my answer is actually going to be my events. Erhi Adventure events have been the most accessible for me because they're teaching me so much about myself and like the things that I need and how to express them, and just like knowing that I can rely on my community, on my sibling, on the people that care about me to do the work with me. And like some of the things that I've brought from past events where I was doing for myself into Erhi Adventure events is like making sure that like really loud noises and really loud lights can be like a choice. Like I'm making sure that like if people need sunglasses for the brighter spaces or need a darker room to take breaks in, like that's a thing that I really, really enjoy, and I like to like bring that to the table for my community.
I love that. And then all the things that we learned together when we were coming up with this too.
Oh,
you were learning how to do image descriptions,
yes.
and how you were learning how to do
Yes.
visual description of yourself.
I've learned a lot, y'all.
Oh, Rosalie said, I used to lead arts integration trainings for K through 12 teachers. And one lesson we asked the teachers to develop was about creating something called a math scavenger hunt for the students. One of the teachers who worked with primarily disabled students created a program for all of us to participate in. that took into account all of the needs of their students, some of whom were in beds, many of whom had different cognitive abilities. And it was a lesson we all enjoyed the most, a group of 30 to 40 teachers. And it opened up amazing conversations about lessons that are fully accessible first, are actually the most beautifully designed and thought out of all lessons. Shout out to the teachers who worked in these spaces. Oh, my heart. That's, oh, yes. I love that.
Kai, do you want to share?
Sure. I was inspired by something y'all said as a both lifelong and baby crip simultaneously. There's something about being held in professional spaces that feels particularly sweet to me. And I was reflecting on a fellowship experience that I'm doing right now, which from jump has just been one of the most accessible experiences of my life. And I was thinking all the way back to my interview with them, which was in the middle of the night because of the time change. It was like midnight. So all my filters, the very few ones I have, were even lower. And, I was talking about being chronically ill and not sure, really wanting to cultivate slowness and a pace of working that worked for me. And the final question in the interview was, hey, we don't need you to answer this now, but this fellowship takes place on the other side of the world from you, which means you'd be traveling back and forth a lot. How could this be done in a way that supports your need for slowness and care? Just think about it so that, should you be selected for this program, it's created with that in mind and in the forefront. And to have that question asked in an interview rather than, how are you going to be the most productive? What are you going to make? Da, 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 da. Instead, to have them be like, no, really think deeply about what care looks like for you. My heart, it just squeezed so hard. It was incredible. And they've been incredible every step of the way.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that for you. And I love that for us because again, when we share these things, now that I know that's a thing, oh my goodness, I have that as a standard now too. Because it's beautiful to know that, yes, we not only deserve that and can achieve that, can get that, can receive that. Also, I want y'all to know that I didn't apply for this residency. They sent me a message being like, hey, you're a disabled artist that we just know and have seen. And that really made me wow. I was just wow, people think that I'm valuable just for who I am, not just oh my God, you apply and you have to sell yourself to some degree or make your disability a story to be oh, because a lot of things that are even for disabled folks, it's okay, well, how can you make this a pity story that we can profit off in some way at the end of the day. But yeah, this was just no, we support you and we just want to give you money to do things. And that was really healing for me, honestly. So I just wanted to say that too. But we're also going to move into exactly what Erica was talking about, conflict and compromise. So inevitably, we're a group of people. We've talked about intersectionality, all our different needs, day to day, moment to moment. There are going to be some conflicting access needs in any group. So it's how can we navigate that so folks can still get their needs met? So I wanted us to just actually just identify some conflicting access needs and potential ways to address them. And I feel these are the ones that we might have brought up. Oh, let me see what's in the chat. That applying for a competitive disability space is so icky. The competition itself creates a lack of access. Yes, yes. So yeah, let's just think about it. If we've already I think AJ, you actually even just brought something up about being in spaces where, because you are sensitive to light a lot of the time, if you have a space that's outside or going to be in a space where you can't control the lights yourself, you provide Was it sunglasses?
Sunglasses, yeah. So, like just knowing that me as a person who has those needs, I have like I wear prescription glasses. So I have prescription sunglasses. I also have like what they call transitions. So I have all my bases covered. But in an event, if I'm having either a virtual event or an in-person event, I want to always offer some type of alternative if there's going to be a lot of high stimulus, like if it's going to be like if we were to, let's say, have a bunch of flashing lights that were going to come on the screen, I would let y'all know beforehand so that if you need to turn down your screen's brightness or close your computer for a moment, you can kind of choose how much stimulus you're receiving, and you don't have to basically suffer in silence. So that's one. And then like Ande was saying, this is something we already practice at home every day, just being two disabled girlies trying to live together. Like I have light and noise sensitivity. Ande, we've tried to like make different ways to meet in the middle with
It
our
depends
needs.
on me. It depends on the day.
Yeah, because we all have like our needs that deserve to be met. But in the past, I never thought that. I would just be like, oh, if somewhere is loud, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna like distance myself and go and seek like alone time, when in all actuality, that's a valid option. But if you're in community with people who care about you and value you and your needs, like they could also turn down the volume. Like that's a thing that is very valid too. So that's just like a brief example of
Oh yeah,
conflict
and
compromise.
Rosalie says also spaces that provide a smoking area or people who have high sensitivity to the smell of and presence of any smoke or storage. Yes, exactly. So having like designated areas that are for smoking or for scents. And then Lisa says low scent conflicts with folks who smoke and use scents in products for their hair or essential oils and medicinal products. So low scent. And Zell says, I'm thinking about transportation access too. Like I know some people really crave that in-person community, and all in-person spaces are already problematic right now when they're not COVID conscious. And sometimes I can't even get to an in-person event in the first place because I don't have a car and it's in the evening, and public transit is not an easy way to get there, and Uber is ridiculously expensive. Yes. And then that's how you start thinking about all the things that you have to think about. Yeah, thinking about all the things. Access to fresh air is important given this conflict.
Yes.
So that's a really good a good one to, now that I'm thinking about that, Lisa. So if we have a space where well, actually, let me go backwards, because when I was actually trying to like think about this for myself, some of the things that I was like, I came across a couple just like resources that were also like asking these questions too. But one thing that I was thinking about is thinking about how, like, comparing how big the need is for each person. So let's say, for example, if it's a situation of low light versus bright light, and somebody has a discomfort with bright lights, but could still participate in the space, but there's a person who has, let's say, low vision and they need brighter lights to be able to participate, then it then becomes like a thing where you have to do some sort of like compromise and negotiation within the group, which is saying like, okay, well, we're going to honor this person's need, because if we do not provide this, then this person cannot be here. And then we're not just going to then be like, and then fuck this other person. But then now that this need is being met by this, like in this way that conflicts, how can we still help this other person? So maybe then it's like, okay, because you have bright lights, a sensitivity to bright lights, we're going to offer you some sunglasses, or we're going to make it so that there is a space where you can go to at some point, let's say if it's a meeting or something, where you can, like how we talked about earlier, and access to decompression spaces, like maybe there's a space they can go where they can be in the dark for a little bit. So that's the kind of things that I've been thinking about in in thinking about how we can navigate this as a community thing. Kai says also, if you live somewhere like LA where quality air is toxic, fresh air is too. See, and that's another thing you have to think about too. Yeah, because again, intersectionality and cross movement solidarity. Because yeah, all of these things are intersecting in ways that, you know, even as we're trying to meet our needs as a community, even as a collective, there are other things that we have to think about, or, you know, maybe somebody doesn't think about. So I think it's also just really important. So yeah, and then Erica says having air purifiers could help with this as well. See, I love this. See, and I think that again, when we're able to have these conversations, and it's not just like a couple able-bodied, quote unquote, neurotypical people coming up with this, or just like, you know, outside of disability, when it's just like, you know, the people who are going to be most affected by the systems, the folks who are going to be in the space, able to come up with ways in which we can work together. As another one, a compassion request. If smokers could wait a few minutes after putting out a cigarette so the air can disperse from their clothes. Yes. And Rosalie says, I love this. Just asking us to have a greater awareness. Exactly. And I think sometimes these are a lot of inaccessibility comes from people's lack of awareness, because they're creating spaces often from their own awareness, the things that affect them, and they don't even know. And sometimes they don't care to know, that's the truth, but sometimes they just don't know and need to be educated, we need to create awareness for these things and also create the spaces ourselves. Vanessa says, for the smoking access conflict, as a situational asthma girly, I've been in spaces where there was a built-in smoke break with time for them to air out, and it worked out great for that moment. Oh, wow. I really love that. See? So yeah, these are things that are already people are thinking about and we're working through. And we have Zell saying, I love thinking about this. Like maybe there's both sunglasses and individual personal lights available for person to use with handouts. Ooh, see? Even better. See, and we have, and providing earplugs for sure too. I love this. Mm-hmm. Virtual events, Wi-Fi connection difficulty, free hotspot provided. Mm-hmm.
Because that's real. Like,
yeah,
especially tricky.
Yeah,
we were talking, just getting ready for this event. We were like, I hope we don't lose power.
Yeah, we're in Caribbean Mexico, and it's hurricane season, and it be raining every day, like raining. Like this puts some rain I've seen coming from living in both Lagos and New Orleans to shame. And I was like, I hope we don't lose power, because if we lose power, then I'm not gonna have Wi-Fi. And it was like, we'll just reschedule. They will understand. It'll be okay. But again, just like trying to prepare for things. And I was like, okay, hotspots is also another thing.
That. Also, too, because not everybody has the same access to Wi-Fi or to, you know, to all the different platforms we use to host, like Zoom, and I don't know what the girlies use. I be using Zoom, but Zoom, Google Meet, all those things, right? Mm-hmm. And so like hotspots, but also like tech spots, you know, where you can
like little spots where
like y'all could put it on a little TV or something, you know, for anybody who doesn't have a computer, like y'all could do all kind of stuff.
Right. So like I like that too. So yeah, maybe like you are helping out, you know, so everybody's like, okay, I got you on the hotspot. I have you on the accessible space that is going to allow for people to come. I have you on bringing the snacks, and then we're actually returning back to like real collective care,
community care.
Rosalie says, this is making me so happy to think through as a facilitator, slow down enough and invite conversation as part of any program to make sure people can share their needs and others are invited to make choices to support these needs. Yes. Oh, this is making me so happy, because this is the things we were thinking about having this.
And it's making me excited because I'm thinking about the next thing that we are going into, and y'all are feeding it into all of it beautifully.
Love it. All righty. So
Zell said, go ahead. It started moving. Sorry. It started moving. Zell said, yo, I am in a writers group with Sins Invalid right now, co-led by Patty Byrne and they offer to buy food for people to eat during the session. It's a virtual group, but they will Postmates you. I love that.
Oh my goodness. I've had something like that happen for me as well, where we were given, it was a virtual support group during the pandemic, but they also gave little gift cards so that folks could just order food while we were, or, you didn't have to, but you could use it while, so everyone could get
Everybody
food
can just get what
to
they
eat
like
together rather than.
like what helps with their dietary needs. If it was
Exactly.
aligned with that. Like I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
If any folks have any other access needs that they're thinking about that, are conflicting, that they want to brainstorm with the group, you can put it in the chat. I feel like this has been actually this is even better than I imagined. This is really good. But yeah, if there's anything that y'all have been really thinking about that you're struggling to be like, well, I don't know how we can make these two things work, or like, well, I don't know who I'm in this space right now, and me and this homie have conflicting access needs. We want to work it out. Let's workshop it. Lisa said, people affected differently by race and disability, and people get triggered by each other. Your ground rules can help. Yes, definitely that. That was another thing I had put in there when I was thinking about this too. It's like when you're making these negotiations, like, so yeah, how does that intersectionality come into play? Like, what do you need to be mindful of when you're negotiating these compromises? Like, in terms of like, are you making sure that those who are the most marginalized are uplifted in your space? Like, are you making sure that you are confronting, racism and all the other isms as well, not just disabilities? And also just like thinking about like, what can you do if a compromise just can't be reached at that time? And how can you make it so that folks can still feel like they're excuse me, wow, how can you make it so that folks still feel like they are valuable? And I was just thinking about how something that I had recently seen was, and just as easy or as simple, it's not easy, but like having multiple meeting times. So it's like, okay, maybe if this is like, we're going to be talking about this particular thing, we can have it at multiple times and dates, and it's going to be exactly the same format, but this particular one is going to have insert whatever access need, and this other one is going to have something that is going to be whatever the other conflicting thing is, so that folks still feel like, well, at the end of the day, if we've gotten to the point where we've really workshopped this, we've gotten all the different people we've gotten different people's opinions, input, there's just really no way that we see a way around it, then yeah, that's also another way that we can still make it so that it's not like, well, and at the end of the day, well, somebody just has to lose out. Like, I don't believe that that's the way. And Vanessa says, I love how in this group there was a boundary set in the terms of having no capacity to do transformative justice, and that any harm caused would the person would be removed. Yes. And that is actually so beautiful. And actually, I want to say the first time that I ever heard that might have been in one of Zell's meditations or workshops a long time ago. Zell, who does transgressive medicine, maybe. I want to say that might be a thing. Well, shout out to co-learning and co-teaching with the homies. I got a little too excited and then realized that we're running what do you call it? We're about to run over time because we only have 8 minutes left. Oh my goodness. So been having such a good time. But this has been really beautiful, and I still want us to, so we're going to do the movement and music break. I still think that's really important because sometimes the answers aren't in our heads. And maybe at the end of this, for anybody who wants to stay, we can do a little dance break. But I encourage y'all after this, whatever you got to do, take some time to move a little bit, shake it out, whatever that means for you, whether that is dancing, stimming, shaking your hands, whatever that is, to the last little exercise. Yeah, so we wanted to take some time now to create new realities. So now that we've explored what the reality is at hand, we've talked about real access needs and real conflicts in like actual ways that we can make them we can work, compromise. I want us to just take some time to dream more accessibly. So like if you were imagining an alternate universe with no limits, where a world where like all your needs could be met, and this is like outside of the realms of like capitalism or even the space-time continuum, like what would your community space look like? What would it smell like, feel like, sound like? Who all gonna be there? Like who's gonna be in the room? What access needs are you going to be thinking about when you are when you're designing it, or what are the ways that you're going to make this accessibly? How can you creatively meet these conflicting access needs here? And remember, in this world that you're creating, nothing is too unbelievable or impractical. Capitalism doesn't exist. We're just going to take some time really quickly to think about that. And yeah, let's take about 3 minutes to think about it. And then y'all can share some things in the chat. I see Kay says, I will surely be dancing after this. Made the mistake of check. Oh no, not the bird app. So sorry, friend. And it took me out of why are you doing this to me? And it took me out of in my alternate reality, there are no motherfucking colonizers and no motherfucking bombs. Ashe, Ashe. Amen. Amen. And see, Rosalie says, I think exactly what we're experiencing right now is what I dream of. Oh, spaces designed by, facilitated by, and full of people with the most intersecting needs around access and identity: Black, Indigenous, queer, trans, disabled, neurodiverse. Created spaces are always the best ones, period. Oh, I know that's right, period. Alrighty. I invite y'all to keep thinking about this, because honestly, I feel like when Black and Indigenous and queer and trans and disabled and neurodiverse folks, when we like dream and like literally just think about a world with no limits, like an alternative universe, like we really are able to dream our way through, because a lot of what they do is try to make us believe that there are all these limits, because that's how they take away our power. And so, yes, these spaces, I believe, also are always the best ones. And I feel like, yeah, we are figuring out a way, and in a little way, creating an alternative universe, even within this like current capitalist hell. Because in these spaces, if just for 3 hours, it doesn't matter if you produce or conform, it's just you are inherently valuable. We believe that, what we believe that the best about, who you are, that you're an expert, and we embody those actual principles of disability justice. But yeah, I'm really happy, y'all. So yeah. And now it is 4:00, and I can't believe this is really over. Let's see. But let's see what else is in the chat. If anybody has to go, really has to go right now, I understand. But I will be here for a little while longer. So if you can hang out longer, we will be here. Zell says, shout out to co-teaching and co-learning. In my dream space, we will all feel capable of co-facilitating truly inclusive spaces with each other. Like, I'm thinking of sustainability of disabled facilitators and not just the participants. I get insecure as an individual facilitator offering spaces versus facilitators offering spaces funded by organizations. Sometimes I don't have the capacity myself as a disabled facilitator to create the best accessibility for everyone, just because I don't have the resources, and I would either lose money putting on the event or not be able to financially keep it accessible. Oh, that is so real. Yes, it is. And I feel that, and I think about that all the time. And AJ and I talk about that all the time. And I'm, again, so grateful for this residency, because it did allow me, to a small extent, to be able to do all these things, like to be able to have an ASL interpreter, to be able to just do whatever I really wanted, to talk about what I wanted, and to be thought of as whole and as an expert in whatever I wanted to do. And I thought that was really beautiful. So yeah. I pray that we get more money for us because we got a lot of really cool stuff that we want to do.
And before we keep reading, just for anybody that does have to leave, we want to say thank you. And we're so honored and grateful that you could join us today. And of course, like we said, we're going to keep dreaming this up. So if you want to use any of these platforms, Instagram, TikTok, our Ko-Fi shop, or even email to contact us and keep this conversation going, we are open and welcome to that. Just wanted to plug that for anybody that has to leave real quick, but we'll be on for a couple more moments.
We do that too. I want to talk about Peter because without them, we wouldn't be here. Woo! Thank you so much, Peter. And Lupita dropped in the chat Peter's website and Instagram. You can find out about upcoming programs in this series. I'm so excited for the other artists in residence. Thank you all so much for being here. If you have to hop off, please do dance after this or move or, just do something that brings you joy.
And
but
remember, you have that playlist. It's going to keep growing and flowing. You can always go back to that.
Ooh,
You can always go back to that.
don't say post the link again?
Oh, yeah, I can post it again for y'all.
Yeah. And so I'm going to read a couple more of these real quick. It's someone says, try to make us believe that there are limits because that's how they take our part. Oh, you quoting me again, not me being like, wow, those are great words. But yes, I'm still going to read it. We are creating an alternate universe, even within this capitalist hell, inherently valuable. Know that you are best, that you know best about who you are. Ashe, ashe. Closed captioning is no longer live as the event is now over. And yeah, feel free to hop off. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.